Hi, Rivus Space here. Today I'm taking a break from working on the usual videos to acknowledge a train wreck of a video Adam Something released, titled Why a Mars Colony is a Stupid and Dangerous Idea. Adam Something is quite a cool YouTuber that I watch from time to time. He quickly gained popularity as most of his content is actually informative and well made. He addresses important issues and does so in an easy to digest way. His best performing videos are related to the undertakings of Elon Musk, which is not surprising as some of them are just simply put bad ideas and deserve their criticism. It is however hard not to notice that this creates a significant incentive for him to criticize all of Musk's projects and get a lot of views. The latest video called Why a Mars Colony is a Stupid and Dangerous Idea is exactly that. A mostly unscientific rant with the sole aim of saying haha, another ridiculous idea from Elon Musk, and absolutely no intention of actually analyzing the topic. Knowing my fair share on the subject, thanks to the space industry being my main passion for years, I was so disgruntled by the inaccuracy of the information in Adam Something's video that I decided that I have to address it. So, welcome to this unusual video correcting the misinformation spread by Adam Something about Mars. Let's dive right in.
Hi there, known genius Elon Musk here, full of good ideas that always work out. Tell me, wouldn't it be epic to live on a Mars colony? Life on the red frontier. What could be more le epic Reddit 420 Keanu Reeves than that? But just what is a Mars colony? Well, it's a colony on Mars. It's the reason why SpaceX exists in the first place, and they are already working on it. The establishment of the colony itself, together with a lunar base, is scheduled for 2022, as announced in 2017. Following 5 years of feverish work, the project is already in the CGI rendering stage. The colony will feature cool surface domes, a ton of solar panels, and a remote-controlled self-destruct mechanism in case colonists try to unionize. Join us on this exciting suicide mission which doesn't have any practical goals or justifications beyond lol, we're on Mars.
We are starting off with an old clickbait article. The plan never was to have a colony by 2022, but to fly the first 2 cargo ships as reconnaissance. This is however the notorious Elon time, so everyone that follows space knows that the dates on such projects are never the real ones.
If you are excited about the Mars colony, chances are it's because of Elon Musk. People like Elon Musk, who pay millions of dollars to market themselves as real-life Tony Starks, have managed to convince a lot of people that our level of technology is far more advanced than it actually is. I call this the Marvel effect, since their movies do the exact same thing.
It is quite funny that Adam Something claims that SpaceX is trying to convince people that they have technology that they don't have. SpaceX is one of the most open space companies right now in terms of making information about their progress available to the public, and there are entire communities dedicated to analyzing what is going on in Boca Chica 24/7. Right now, most of such misinformation comes from unofficial channels like YouTube. In fact, before making this video, I was doing some research for a video about SpaceX fake news on YouTube, which gets pretty wild, but I decided to focus on this piece. Okay, let's finish the intro.
But even if we had the technology to reliably colonize Mars right now, doing so still wouldn't make a lick of sense. And so throughout the video we'll be considering the following points: the logistics of getting to Mars, the potential justifications for a colony, the practical problems of living on Mars, the psychological effects on colonists, fucking terraforming, better alternatives to Mars, and a mystery point, codename Absolute Trainwreck.
Well, I am here today to disprove that it does not make sense. I have something to say about all of those aspects of Mars colonies.
Let's get started. Problem number 1. The logistics of getting there. The average distance between Earth and Mars is about 230 million kilometers. It's average because the distance constantly varies. Earth and Mars don't orbit the Sun at the same speed, so you can't just launch a spacecraft willy-nilly. You have to time it right in a so-called launch window, so the trip is as short as possible. This launch window is about 30 days, occurring every 26 months. Launching in this window means that the trip to Mars will only take 7 to 9 months. The logistical implications of this are of course pretty severe.
Okay, so I'll be pausing the video quite often to address the inaccuracies right away. I will be of course also skipping some parts, so it's not too long, however, you can be sure that all of the points Adam Something makes will be included, as I really have comments on all of them. Starting now, yes, it's true that currently the journey takes 7 to 9 months, However, for Mars colonization, we will probably have already developed and implemented nuclear propulsion, cutting the travel time to only 3 months. Those solutions are in fact very simple physics-wise, and have been conceived a long time ago, but had no reason to be developed as we didn't really need those speeds yet, and we could not use them on Earth as they create radiation as a side effect. Right now, both companies like Rolls-Royce and governmental agencies such as NASA started developing and working on providing those technologies, and we can expect them to be ready in a reasonable time frame.
If a resupply mission fails for whatever reason, you're potentially looking at a more than 2-year delay of supplies.
Well, yes, there could be a pause in supplies, but this is not a hard problem to solve by any means. First of all, the idea is to send many ships, so a single failure does not spell doom for the colonists. Second of all, stockpiling food for even 2 years is not that hard and will most likely be in place. Lastly, the idea is to have the colony self-sustaining as fast as possible, so they need either a limited amount of things from Earth, like some vitamins that can be stored in massive supply with low cost, or they just don't need any supplies at all to survive, using technologies such as aquaponics and similar.
Not to mention the risk of something going wrong during landing. Now, recently the rate of failure for Mars missions seems to be lower, but compared to a Mars colony, those are very simple missions where you aren't trying to land years worth of supplies or actual colonists. For me, this would mean sending twice or even 3 times the amount of needed supplies at the same time for a Mars colony, with separate transportation just in case 1 or even 2 of them crash land or something. Of course, cargo can stay in space for longer, so I can imagine you could also pre-launch a whole lot of cargo ships even outside of the launch window, in a way that they would reach Mars at predetermined times. But this is still suboptimal. Unmanned missions can afford the risk of failure, manned missions cannot. Nothing can go wrong, which means lots of fail-safes, lots of backup, consequently the costs will be horrendous.
The first take mentioned here is that compared to setting up a Mars colony, those are very simple missions, which is outright false. The tech compared here comes from different countries, and many first or second tries end up as a disaster. Also, landing something like a Perseverance rover is much harder than landing a bunch of supplies. Percy used the sky crane design. They literally had a flying crane to gently lower the rover to the surface, so all of its components remain in perfect condition. Landing supplies requires far less precision. It is also the case that processes such as landing get safer and safer with trial and error. A great example could be Falcon 9 landings. At first, a few boosters had to crash, but right now the landings have become so routine that people are not even getting excited over them anymore. The same thing holds for landing on Mars, with the same resupply vehicle. At first there might be some failures, but before we land humans, we want the landing to become so safe that they are just a routine. That way, you don't need to send as many ships, assuming you would want to anyway, and you can save money. If we assume the Starship to be the go-to-Mars resupply vehicle, a thing that can be criticized is the so-called suicide burn, so its risky landing procedure. But if we don't want to involve human lives in it, we can always use more traditional procedures for landing, which are very safe, like normal capsules and landers that can be hauled to Mars using a Starship. Also, having a prepared landing infrastructure on the Red Planet further reduces risk, as much of it is connected to the rough landing surface, which can be replaced with a neat landing pad.
And for what? Let's take a look at the potential justifications for a Mars colony. And the problem is, there are none. Discounting vagaries like "it's for science" or the ATIQ "lol we're on Mars," currently we have absolutely no reason to be there in person. There are no valuables to extract in large quantities, but even if there were, shipping them back to Earth would make it the most unprofitable venture in human history. In terms of science, there is not much humans could do that rovers can't. Mars is a rock desert. There is not much opportunity to be productive.
And here is the point in the video that started my extreme frustration. It is very simple to find the reasons wherever you look, which is why I am surprised Adam Something did not at least acknowledge the most significant of them. There is a huge number of civilization-ending events which we have observed that could strike Earth at any given time and swiftly murder all of its inhabitants. Asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, coronal mass ejections, nuclear wars, even pandemics. Regarding the asteroids, we seem to forget about them, as we have theoretically mapped all of them in our vicinity and none of them are heading towards Earth in any predictable time frame, but this false reassurance could not be further from the truth. There are countless objects which we cannot track, like comets with huge orbits or even ones coming from interstellar space. Moreover, we have a tendency to detect them very late when they are very close to Earth or when they have already passed Earth, so the scenario of waking up to the news that a collision will occur in a week is not unlikely. A well-known example could be our interstellar guest, Oumuamua, which we have detected only when it was on its way out of the solar system, way past its closest approach. Within seconds, Earth could turn into a blazing inferno, killing nearly all life. Creating a self-sustaining colony on Mars is a way of ensuring that no matter what happens to Earth, and many things have already happened in the past, humanity prevails and life as we know it continues to exist. A sort of plan B, you could say. As with all space activities, it will also require developing cutting-edge technologies, which always find their uses later on Earth. Adam Something here also claims that Mars is a rock desert and there is no scientific benefit of landing humans instead of rovers. This is quite a simplification of an entire planet, which has many different interesting places. Using robots also comes with many issues like the limited equipment and huge latency, which yes can be overcome, but having humans on site makes many things easier. Not that it is as important as saving humanity from inevitable doom, but it is a nice added benefit.
Now, overpopulation and escaping climate change are reasons people sometimes bring up in favor of colonizing Mars, and both are rather stupid.
At this point, I am fully convinced that Adam Something does not want to actually analyze the topic at hand, but just push his anti-Mars agenda. Yes, those arguments are stupid, he is not wrong here. This is also exactly why I have never seen any respectable specialist who knows what they're talking about use them. This is just creating an issue to have a talking point, and I never expected Adam Something, based on his older videos, to use such disingenuous debate tactics. Unsurprisingly, people working on space technologies are not that stupid and know very well that colonizing Mars is no solution to the hypothetical problem of overpopulation. Regarding the climate crisis, Adam Something says this.
As for climate change, people, including Elon Musk, make it sound like Mars would be humanity's plan B in case of a climate disaster on Earth. But by humanity, Elon actually means the select few, aka the top 1%. What, you thought you would be on the evacuation rocket?
At this point I am nearing laughter. If one has ever heard a serious conversation about Mars, they would know that in most cases you would want to evacuate to Mars, there would probably not be any evacuation rocket. But if we are talking milder catastrophes, ones that you could evacuate from, mostly resulting from climate change, one has to remember one thing, one which Adam Something also acknowledges, which is hilarious. Mars is a dangerous place, where you won't have beach resorts, yachts, nature, and many of the amenities rich people are used to. No matter how serious climate change gets, even if half of the world gets flooded, or has to endure a nuclear winter, Earth is still a better place to stay if you have the monetary means. Mars is a place for idealists, and claiming that the top 1% would give up all of the luxuries that they have only on Earth, even in the face of a huge climate disaster, just to go to Mars, is either not knowing the facts or being strongly disconnected from reality. In case of catastrophes such as asteroid impacts, it is likely that there will be no time to prepare any evacuation rockets or anything more than a single mission, so you don't have to be worried about such discrimination. To illustrate how ridiculous those arguments are, let's take a topic closer to Adam Something's specializations, public transport. Many people say that the reason for investing in better public transport is making road maintenance cheaper. This idea is however not good, as buses also use up the roads. Hence, we should not invest in public transport. Anyway, probably only the rich would use it as a luxury not to have to take their cars everywhere. Sound stupid? Yes, and if you are even a bit interested in space, Adam Something's arguments sound as ridiculous as this. Now let's move to the next chapter, the problems of living on Mars.
The problems with living on Mars. Mars is a kind of orange hell for human beings with a wide range of dying opportunities available to you. Martian atmospheric pressure is less than 1% that of Earth, which means a very thin atmosphere, which means harmful solar radiation and micrometeorites. Tiny stones flying like bullets aimed at buildings and your pressure suit's visor. Moreover, on Earth, the coldest temperature ever recorded was -89 Celsius, measured in the Arctic. On Mars, temperatures often go below -120. Even if you have a warm period, the thin atmosphere just won't retain any heat. Mars's outer core is also frozen solid, meaning no dynamo effect, meaning no magnetic shield, meaning hazardous levels of cosmic radiation. Even if you dig in to avoid said radiation, colonists will be exposed to higher than average rates for the rest of their lives. That means after some years, rates of cancer will be through the roof. In addition, gravity is 1/3 that of Earth, so even though you would be able to lift heavy things and bound around, thanks for the tape Elon, there is no telling what health problems low gravity would cause. The longest stay in microgravity so far is less than a year. Beyond that, we can only extrapolate. How would the low gravity of Mars affect pregnancies or your cardiovascular system? Who wants to be the first lucky one to find out? In light of these dangers, as far as I can tell, pretty CGI and slick domes on the Martian surface are complete bullshit, unless you're planning on dying. But if you aren't, your only option is to dig in and live the rest of your life in a Martian underground bunker, only coming out occasionally when there isn't a solar flare blanketing the surface with dangerous levels of radiation.
Well, it would be nice if it was so simple, however it is not. That is why we sent out probes, rovers and satellites in the first place, to understand those things better. Turns out that all of the problems here are not that significant. There are some problems to solve on Mars, however, for the most part, they are not what Adam Something mentioned. The first one here is the thin atmosphere, which according to the speaker causes problems with radiation and micrometeorites. Besides those, I don't see why it would make us not want to go to Mars, but as soon you will see, the two results of a thin atmosphere are also false. Let's start with the radiation, which Adam Something must really like because he included it in the list whole 3 times. I guess lists of dangers look better if they have more elements. But in reality, radiation is one of the smallest concerns when it comes to the safety of the colonists. Here you can see a map of how much radiation and sieverts you would accumulate on Mars in a year, staying fully unprotected outside. The first thing to notice is that the locations throughout Mars are not equal, and in many regions the radiation levels are half that of others. So let's say we set up a colony in a place where the levels are 0.1 sieverts per year. What does that actually mean? It is currently estimated that accumulating 1 sievert translates to a 5.5% chance of eventually developing cancer. That is also how much sieverts NASA allows its astronauts to accumulate in space before their retirement. So in order to accumulate 1 sievert, you would have to stay outside unprotected for 10 years straight. This is of course highly hypothetical because you would be protected at all times. Those levels are higher than those of Earth, but are not a huge challenge to overcome. We know multiple ways to protect ourselves from radiation. Moreover, the colonists would probably be regularly screened for cancers, allowing for early detection and treatment. Regarding micrometeorites, it is one of those things that sound dangerous, so you think they are, but according to our experience on Mars so far, micrometeorites are not a concern. The atmosphere of Mars is slim, but still acts as an important layer of protection. Regarding bigger meteorites, which would have the potential of actually inflicting damage to the base, JPL scientists estimated that if the base would be around the size of 2 football fields, the probability of being hit would be 1 in 57 million years. Might as well be non-existent, just an issue of very bad luck. I have no clue where Adam Something took that argument from, but I doubt that from any credible source. Moving on to the last 2 arguments presented, the low temperatures have not been an issue for us so far. It is just a matter of good habitat design and environmental suits. The more important issue is the low gravity. Yes, there seem to be many problems regarding humans in microgravity, however, those are being constantly researched and to many of them solutions are found, like different exercise types or supplements. Moreover, many of the problems are actually with returning from Mars gravity to the Earth's gravity. Time will pass until we send humans to Mars, we will have more humans on the moon and understand the health issues better. So far, it seems that there aren't that significant problems with living on Mars per se, but with returning from Mars to Earth, which, yes, is bad and unfortunate, but not a full argument against trying to colonize Mars. He also mentions pregnancies, but there of course would be none until we know more. This attitude of "we are not sure what would happen, so let's never even try to do it" is truly regrettable. In his closing remarks for this chapter, Adam Something also mentions quote-unquote living underground in a bunker and only coming out when there is no solar flare. This only proves that he took no time to research the topic and just goes off based on things he has heard somewhere a few years back. In fact, radiation shielding with in situ materials is very possible. NASA, as our understanding of Mars develops, creates competitions for human habitat designs, during which they are assessed based on things like radiation shielding, performance during Marsquakes, general safety, and many more. None of the last winners were bunkers, and in fact the habitats had windows. Discoveries, such as those made by the Curiosity rover, allowed us to better understand the specifics of the radiation on Mars, and one of those discoveries was that the radiation coming from angles up to 30 degrees is not that dangerous, as it goes through enough atmosphere. This can be used in habitat construction to create more human spaces. If an upcoming flare is detected, then you can temporarily move to a more shielded room.
The wide variety of lethal dangers, plus being cramped together in a small underground bunker with dozens of others for the rest of your life, will surely do wonders for your mental health, by the way. And let's talk about that, the psychological effects on colonists.
Among the arguments mentioned, this is in fact the first one which is actually important, and probably most significant. The mental health of the colonists or astronauts is vital for their safety. That is why only the fittest people could at first even attempt to undertake such a task. One of the most important things to keep the morale high is keeping the astronauts with tons of exciting things to do, and for this the location choice for the base on Mars is very important. There are more and less interesting places, and one which is truly otherworldly would be needed. There are significant hurdles to overcome in regards to mental health, but it is important to consider what is better, learning and developing ways to keep the astronauts mentally healthy, or allowing the whole of humanity to inevitably sooner or later perish. I'd personally rather work on solving problems than just give up. Also, such issues would probably be lower and lower as the colony would be bigger and more similar to a real home.
But what if we could change that? Turn this dead planet into Earth 2.0. So let's talk about fucking terraforming. Okay, first off, let's get the obvious out of the way. As things currently stand, terraforming Mars is
fucking magic.
True, we currently don't have any good means of terraforming. We may, however, create smaller indoor environments resembling those of Earth. It is an interesting concept, but one for a really long-term and scientific research, which can be done only on site. Still, we don't need terraforming to establish a colony on Mars, it is just a wild futuristic idea. Now let's look at Adam Something's better alternative to Mars.
But suppose we are really serious about colonization. And why not? I think it's a good idea. So why not create a colony on the moon first? The moon has about 0% atmosphere compared to Mars' 0.6%, so as far as you're concerned, they're essentially the same. You'll have a much nicer view of space, and travel time is only 3 days instead of 7 to 9 months. If something goes wrong, you can go back to Earth, or at least have a panic module able to sustain you until help arrives. On the moon, your internet latency is only 2.5 seconds instead of half an hour, and you don't have to deal with the soul-crushing realization that you'll never see your friends and family again.
Yes, that is a good idea, and that is why we are doing exactly this. This is not a great new plan, but a logical conclusion that everyone, including Elon Musk, have come to. In fact, SpaceX is already connected to the NASA moon plans with the lunar variant of the Starship rocket that is in the works. The Russians and the Chinese also have their moon colony plans for the next decades. Having a settlement on the moon first is inevitable and will give us plenty of experience for Mars. What SpaceX usually says are mission statements and aspirations, but the Artemis missions, how troublesome they might be, are actual plans. Also, shout out to another cool creator, Cannabis, in the comments for being surprised that the moon first angle isn't considered as often as it should be. Don't worry, it is not only being considered, but also actively worked on. The funniest part are the arguments that Adam Something gives for the moon. Most of the drawbacks that he mentioned for Mars, and I debunked, are actually true for the moon. It is absolutely unscientific and false to say that the moon and Mars have about the same atmosphere. The difference is really significant. Mars provides some protection against radiation and good against micrometeorites, while the moon does not provide any at all. The gravity of the moon is also much lower than that of Mars. I'm not saying that this crosses out the possibilities of colonizing the moon. In fact, I'm a huge endorser of such activities, but it would if we applied the logic of Adam Something. Going to the moon is simply too dangerous. The only redeeming quality is the short travel time, but that does not mean that we need to be any less cautious on the moon. It needs to be acknowledged that settling the moon and Mars have very different purposes. The moon is dangerous but gives us manifold opportunities for next-gen energy production, manufacturing, spacecraft making, fuel depots, space observation, and many more. Mars ensures that in a case of a race-ending event, which will come sooner or later, humanity prevails and continues to exist. I think both missions are very important and we have the means to work on different projects, we're just not really using them so far. But I am sure that as soon as some profit incentive on the moon is proven and the technology is developed enough for commercial companies to take it over, we will be witnesses to a revolution in the size of the space industry.
But what if you just can't let this whole Mars business go? If a moon colony isn't enough for you, you also want to terraform. Well, I have good news. There is a great opportunity for you to satisfy your scientism-oriented urges. Planet Earth is a great candidate for terraforming. There are vast areas on this planet that are unsuitable for large-scale human habitat. How about we practice by terraforming the Sahara Desert, and also making sure we don't kill the Amazon rainforest in the process? That would be a great first step, and it would benefit most of everyone. But that doesn't sound sci-fi enough, so Elon Musk will stick talking about Mars, because that's how you maintain the Tesla stock bubble.
He claims that we can terraform the Sahara, which I find really hard to relate to. What could he mean by that? What is the point of this argument? Terraforming is by definition working on the whole planet and not a part of it. This part makes so little sense that I'm not sure how to react. But even if, in a sci-fi world, that was possible, then why not try both? Well, there is no real answer to this question, as this scenario is just artificially created to push Adam Something's agenda.
So as we can see, Mars colony plans are somewhere between complete absurdity and stock manipulation. But there is one last part of this video, the mystery segment promised early on. One last point to hammer home the true extent of the absurdity of the agitation around colonizing Mars. We need to talk about the lowest common denominator, on par with Nigerian prince email scams and low-effort NFTs. Mars 1. Holy shit.
Whoever watches my videos knows that I in fact made a 40-minute deep dive into the life of the Mars 1 scam, so I feel quite knowledgeable about that. But I fail to see how that is related to the point of Adam Something's video. It was just a random scam and its existence is completely unrelated to the debate about the viability of Mars colonies. It seems to be just included for the laughs, which is fine, just fully irrelevant. This would be the end of Adam Something's terrible video, so let me share some general thoughts. Putting something like this out on the internet is extremely hurtful and dangerous. I was doing some research into SpaceX misinformation for a video. Most of it uses the people's fascination with SpaceX to gain views, making up new technologies, but as was demonstrated by Adam Something, SpaceX misinformation to gain views can also take the form of unscientifically criticizing their aspirations. It is more than obvious that this content was not made as a way to really analyze the idea, but just to shame Elon Musk, without even stopping for a second to research it. The best proof is that there exist much better reasons for us to be restrained with Mars colonization, which Adam Something did not use, but I will save them for a potential future video. I find it despicable if someone considers space projects only out of hate and not will of discovery and development of the human race. I used to really like Adam Something, but now I feel like I lost all my trust in his content. Space happens to be a field that I am knowledgeable in, so I can see how bullshit this video was, but if he can outright lie in such videos, then how can I really trust him to give me information on other topics, ones that I'm not that knowledgeable about and might not be able to see through the misinformation? Spreading such fake news is damaging to the whole community. You can hate Elon Musk as much as you want, he represents many disastrous projects and ideas. But what SpaceX does to the space industry is next to miraculous, and not acknowledging it is pathetic. The sad thing is that people with no knowledge in the field believe Adam Something, because why wouldn't they? He has made some pretty good videos in the past. I'd be very happy if Adam Something looked back and reconsidered this video, but it is unlikely, so I can only hope that more people see through the fake information in it and spread the real knowledge. Perhaps Adam Something will one day be able to regain that trust, it remains to be seen. I hoped you liked this different style of a video. This is quite new for me, but I couldn't with clear conscience leave this matter unanswered. If you want to learn more about Mars misconceptions, I really recommend The Angry Astronaut. He made some very good videos on the subject. Also, as always, I've attached some interesting reading in the description of the video. Very cool things, worth a look. And they allow you to read into the issues yourself instead of trusting a person from the internet. Like and subscribe to stay tuned for more space content. Have a nice day.